Hey Dolphins, Scott Bacon here with another episode of Diving Deeper, an in-depth look at life on campus here at Jacksonville University in the fall of 2020. Joined this week by our athletic director, Alex Ricker-Gilbert. Alex, we appreciate you taking the time. It's been a strange time for you, like everyone. As most of our folks know, the fall sports have been postponed to the spring. How are your student athletes holding up during this really strange time?
Well, Scott, thanks for having me on Diving Deeper. It's a privilege to be on with you. Yeah, it's been a challenge, but it's also been an opportunity for our student athletes. While there's no competition, they're all participating and doing what they love to do. And after 6 months of not being able to do that, of being home, being able to come back and be together and practice and work out and get treatment and get rehab and do all that it is to be a student athlete, whether it's studying as well together, has been sort of a breath of fresh air for them, for their coaches, for all of us. And really it's a build. It's a build to the spring for our fall student athletes to be able to compete. It's also a build for our winter sports student athletes, men's and women's basketball, and a build for our spring sports student athletes who lost their season last year. And so we are preparing for when competition does come, and our students are excited. That's the carrot. Competition in the spring is what we're preparing for, and them having that opportunity, I think, is exciting.
A lot of talk about the fall and the spring. Basketball, sort of the in-between sport in the winter, the announcement coming out recently that they are going to have their season just a couple weeks delayed.
Yes, and the other sport to add to basketball in the winter is indoor track. Indoor-outdoor track is winter-spring, but men's and women's basketball will be our first two sports competing on campus. Their season was set to start November 10th. The NCAA Council, the Division I Board of Directors, chose to delay that season by 2 weeks. And that decision was really based on, by the time Thanksgiving comes around, campuses are emptying out. About 80% of campuses nationwide will be empty come Thanksgiving. And so that'll be the first competition date. They'll be able to play in end of November through December, through a lot of January with nobody else on campus, and that will mitigate a lot of the risk that surrounds athletics when students are in session.
When your students returned to campus, they started a surveillance testing that's continued now into the fall and will continue throughout the semester. Tell us a little bit about that process and what sort of indications you've seen from that testing.
Yes, so the NCAA has provided guidance, requirements, and they've coined it the NCAA Resocialization of Sport Plan. And all Division I institutions are required to follow the protocol. Within that protocol is testing. And the testing right now without competition calls for surveillance testing. And that is a percentage of your student athletes being tested every 2 weeks to try to get a baseline for where you are as a program, as far as positivity rates go. And so we have done that every 2 weeks. 25% of our student athlete population is getting tested. So far, we've extraordinary results. Our student athletes are participating and being compliant with what we ask to do. Our positivity rate 6 weeks into the semester is less than 0.5%. And so we've been able to continue on without interruption because of that. As the year persists and competition is in play, testing will ramp up. Basketball will start as soon as their season begins, testing 3 times a week.
Now, I don't know what's stranger, not competing in the fall or moving everything into the spring. Already a really heavy semester, a heavy season for you. What's that going to be like with all the fall sports moving to the spring and having them all jammed together?
I don't know. We've never done it before. But I think this fall, as I tell people, while there's no competition, obviously it's extraordinarily challenging for a lot of other reasons. The virus, the number one reason, but also just the requirements that it takes to even have our student athletes here and participating, the mental wellness, the physical wellness, all that goes into this is just a different type of challenge. In the spring, you add competition to more than 15 sports at one time. It is going to be like nothing we've ever seen. But at the same time, it's going to be really exciting. The environment on our campus will be like it's never been before. And so we have to take advantage of that. Right now, we're in the process of determining staffing needs, scheduling needs, what the game schedules will look like. Normally in the spring, we'll play Friday, Saturday, Sunday. With the amount of teams competing, there's going to need to be more flexibility with the schedule, just because we won't be able to staff games if we have 15 games on a Saturday or 14 games on a Sunday. We just might need to use more days of the week in order to compete and get the seasons in. We'll be ready to do it. We'll be prepared to do it. There'll be bumps and bruises in the road, but nothing we won't be able to handle.
Alex, we greatly appreciate the time. You mentioned the extraordinary results of the testing from your student athletes who have really been leading the way on campus. Good luck the rest of the way, and again, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
Alex Ricker-Gilbert, our athletic director here at Jacksonville University, joining us here on Diving Deeper. Make sure to stay in touch with us, ju.edu, for all the latest information. You can email us your questions for Diving Deeper at careteam@ju.edu. We appreciate you joining us. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll talk soon.